Welcome back to my coffee chats with investment platforms. So this next one is with Rachel Mountain, who is the head of marketing and communications at Ethex, which is a slightly different type of platform to the other ones that I've been chatting to, but an amazing one. You can really see the impact that your money is having. So I think you'll find them really interesting.
Obviously, we had to have Ethex along and included in this. I've known you guys for ages now. We've been in touch over the years, and I think you're the only platform that I know that's not for profit. So, do you want to just tell me about Ethex and how it started and how long you've been going for?
Okay, so Ethex started in 2013 as a not-for-profit platform looking at developing a movement essentially to enable people to take control of their money, how they use it, and invest it directly in organizations that were having a positive impact on the world and that, align with their values. So if you kind of, have an affinity with renewable energy or affordable and sustainable housing or better food production, you could essentially come along and identify organizations that were really sort of pioneering and innovating in that space. So yeah, over the past sort of 7 or 8 years, we've actually just hit a milestone with Ethex and our sister platform, Energize Africa, of raising the 100 million pounds for over 200 different projects really across, lots of different sectors. Now, one of the sectors that's growing is affordable and sustainable housing, where charities and not-for-profit organisations are realising this is a really good way of financing permanently affordable housing for vulnerable people. So recently we did a raise for £600,000 for a really great organisation in Edinburgh that was looking to provide permanent homes and all the support services that went with that for people sleeping on the street in Edinburgh. So really working with organisations that are tackling some really systemic and deep-rooted issues in society.
Yeah, so the next question was going to be like, why should anyone consider investing? But I mean, it's almost like you've just answered it. It's like fund all these amazing projects and all these amazing things. But yeah, I mean, why else should people consider investing? And with your platform, like, what's the minimum investment amount if, say, they don't have that much money to invest each month?
So in terms of the minimum investment amount, it varies between each organisation and where they want to set the minimum level. But, it can range from £50 to £100. But, usually we're kind of encouraging organisations to kind of keep that limit as low as possible. From £50 you can start. And I think, for us, it's really, we only work with organisations that are making a positive contribution to society. So for us, it's not about screening out negative things like, cigarette companies, arms manufacturers. We will only work with organisations that are, purpose driven. And usually, they are community owned, so they tend to be cooperatives, community benefit societies. However, we do work with profit for purpose businesses. But for us, it's making sure that the purpose is really embedded within the mission and the vision and the articles of an organisation, and it's deep rooted. And I think people, money is one of the most powerful tools for change, and people just are waking up, I think, to that fact, especially with what's happened with COVID. It's a way that I think communities have been, certainly in the UK, hollowed out over the years with, austerity, with certain business models that, see value extracted for shareholders and for directors, and not necessarily focused on stakeholder value. So we're really working with organisations that, want to create value for all their stakeholders, and that's their shareholders, their employees, the local community groups that they serve. And often these organisations are doing remarkable things around, renewable energy. So, you've got some really interesting organisations like Low Carbon Hub that are currently raising in Oxfordshire, that have a portfolio of renewable energy projects, you know, somewhere in the region of 50. So they've got run-of-river hydro projects, they've got solar on schools, they're working with businesses. So I'd say, you know, that's the reason people should look at, you know, investing. It's kind of, what do you want your money to do? You know, what kind of future do you want, you know, tomorrow? There's all these big issues, and actually grassroots activism and using your money to force that kind of change by pushing it into organizations that are addressing some of these bigger issues, you know, is a great way of doing that, you know, and makes you kind of feel good that you're contributing. You know, there's lots of eco-anxiety and things out there where you think, oh, you know, I can do my bit with recycling, I can do my bit in terms of trying to, you know, shift to electric vehicle or low carbon. But I would just encourage people to look at, you know, their money and where it's going, and make sure it kind of aligns with those values that they have, and helping to kind of, you know, drive that transformational change that they want to see.
Yeah, amazing. And I just want to talk about like the finance side of things just quickly, because I think one of the big misconceptions has been so far that ethical, sustainable, impact type investment doesn't, you know, reap the same sort of returns as your non-sustainable, non-impact types of investments. So I just wanted to ask you about that. Like, what are you seeing? And I know different strategies can reap different types of rewards, but what are you seeing?
You know, interesting, before you know, this meeting, I was kind of looking at some of the stats and around sort of sustainable funds, and in Good with Money's you know, good investment review, you know, it's really great to see that 3D Investing, you know, have found that over the last 5 years, you know, sustainable funds are outperforming the market average. So there is this real misnomer that, you know, ethical or positive means taking a hit on the return that you can generate. And I think, you know, with organizations like 3D Investing and the Good Investment Review, there's a lot more statistics out there that are you know, clearly evidencing that's not the case. From Energize Africa and Ethex's perspective, you know, we're seeing, you know, fair returns. I mean, are the businesses that we work with, you know, for us, it's about what the business model can, you know, can generate, and they're sort of, you know, target fair returns. You know, none of these are sort of guaranteed, but it's, you know, for us, we're looking, you know, and we work with organisations that typically are looking at paying out target returns of 4 to 5%, which I think in the current climate, you know, kind of stacks up really well against, you know, other less sustainable investments. So, you know, we are seeing, and last year we had a 20% increase in the volumes that were going through our platform. And, you know, I think like everyone else, when COVID hit in sort of February, March time, it was like, oh, you know, what's going to happen here, you know, especially with the economic impact that people are feeling. But I think it was really encouraging as this whole message around Build Back Better. You know, people that had more time on their hands and were stuck at home were looking and really getting into, you know, what does it mean? Where is my money going? And just having the time and space to look at, you know, how they invested and what they invested in.
So, I mean, we're seeing that it is performing really well. More people are becoming more interested in it. People are more concerned, and like you say, you know, voting with their pounds, voting with their feet when it comes to their investments and where they're shopping and what they're buying and that type of thing. So it's growing, but there is a bit of greenwash out there. Not everyone does this type of investment really well, but will still sort of label their fund or investment as sustainable or ESG. Can you help, or do you have any tips for just ordinary folk like me on how to cut through the greenwash?
I think you make a very, very valid point. And it is difficult, especially for somebody that's sort of getting into the space. You know, you kind of see the really slick marketing messages, and it's not until you start to look under the bonnet of where the fund is investing, which isn't always that easy to ascertain. So I guess, you know, my tips would be look at organizations that do this and provide kind of reviews on funds. So, you know, I've mentioned one earlier, which is Good with Money. One of the other platforms would be Ethical Consumer, where, you know, they're really digging into where these funds are going and how they perform and, you know, what they actually investing in and what is their definition. Because you're absolutely right. I've seen sort of funds labeled as green, but they're still investing in companies that have, you know, fossil fuel activities. It's just they will put a minimum on, you know, what's the revenue level that they can generate. So I think just be wary and use lots of independent research that is out there and is accessible to kind of see how those funds truly stack up.
And with your platform, the holdings isn't so much an issue, is it? Because you're investing in a project and it's like one company, so you immediately know exactly what you're getting. Is that the case?
Yeah, so for us, it's really direct investing, although, you know, we do have some funds on the platform like Web Sustainability Fund, in sort of, you know, an area where we kind of list a lot of sort of really ethical and you know, positively impactful products. So, but mainly, you know, Ethex and Energize Africa are all about investing directly. And as I said, you know, we only list organisations that are, you know, actively making a positive contribution and have, you know, kind of purpose at the heart of what they're doing.
So just a couple more questions. And so the next one is just about investor diversity. This is something I've been talking to all the platforms about. You know, I'd really love to see more women, more people of colour, more people on lower incomes starting to think about investment and investing in positive things. What are you seeing with your customer base, or how are you kind of supporting or helping make sure that, you know, you've got a diverse range of people using your platforms?
So I think that's a really, you know, important question. I think for us, it's something we've dealt with from the inception of Energize Africa, really. So Energize Africa was set up as a result of a tender that was issued by UK Aid and Virgin Unite. So it was a very transparent process, and we were selected with a Dutch-based impact investing platform called Lenderhand. And from the outset, because it was co-investment from UK Aid, the British taxpayers, you know, it was very clear in what we needed to do that, you know, investing was to be representative of the British population. You know, it needed to be, you know, all walks of life, from 18-year-old people investing from £50 right through to, you know, kind of older people that typically have more wealth. And so, you know, we developed metrics to make sure that that was the case, and that, yes, we were, you know, growing areas where people, you know, typically invest more, but equally, you know, in terms of being inclusive and making sure those parts of, you know, the sort of British society, UK society were represented. That was implicit, you know, in what we did from the outset. And so for us, we've been measuring on, you know, gender, and, you know, both platforms were around 36% of our investors are female. You know, it's something for us that we want to grow. Typically, female investors are just more connected with these issues. They just, I think, lack the confidence just to take that first step from all the research that you see. So, you know, for us, we're really actively encouraging that group and wanting, you know, to go out. And that's why, you know, we've been working with Friends of the Earth on the kind of Own It program, where, you know, they're going around trying to empower women to with what are the tools, what do they need to know about, you know, across the whole, you know, financial spectrum of products, so that they can have a conversation, feel empowered, and then sort of go back to their local Friends of the Earth local organizations and develop a conversation. So for us, you know, we are really aware and have metrics in place, and it's something that we want to grow. You know, equally for us, you know, with Energize Africa, we want to encourage diaspora investors to also be part of the solution. And we just think it's really, really important. And back to this point, you know, with the UK government's research in investing for a better world, you know, yes, you know, your platform has to be commercially sustainable, but for us, it's about accessibility and making things accessible for everyone. And
yeah, brilliant. That's so great that you're measuring that, you know, you're sort of on it and you have targets. That's really great to hear. So I'm going to leave all your information in the video description so people can go to your platform and have a look and read up some more and see what types of projects that, you know, they can invest in. But at what point should somebody actually speak to a financial advisor? Is there a particular amount of money or a circumstance? Maybe they're buying a house. Like, when should they be speaking to somebody professional?
I think, you know, if anyone's making a big financial decision, if they're in any doubt about anything, getting financial advice is the best way to proceed. Investing sustainably, investing ethically, there are some IFAs that are just more in tune with that and are just more engaged. So I would just encourage people to speak to an IFA, but just try and pick one that is, you know, well known and has deep roots in the ethical space. And Ethical Consumer has a list of those. You know, sort of Castlefield, Ethical Futures. There's some great IFAs out there that are just very, very focused on the sustainability and ethical space. And you don't get that with every single IFA.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I'll plug the Ethical Investment Association as well. It's a bit of an old website, but it does have a really good list of financial advisors.
Yeah, that's a great call too.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, thank you so much for joining me and having this chat. So, like I said, I'll leave all the information. I really hope people go and check out your platform and consider investing in one of your amazing projects.
Thank you so much, Charlene. Thanks for the opportunity. It was great to chat to you.